Good afternoon. Today I'm going to do the first video update to my blog. I might be trying to do this from time to time. I always like oratory as part of storytelling, so I might try to incorporate it here and there. Today I've been working hard on my electrical system, which is both terrible and wonderful, but despite my best efforts to mess it up, I might actually succeed. So it's probably about 10 days before I take off, and preparation's moving right along. So today is going to be focusing on the how question, and the two main ones that I'll focus on is how I'm getting place to place and how I can afford it. It seemed like those are the two how questions that I get presented with the most often. So the biggest functional question then is, how do you get from place to place? This one was never much of a question for me in my mind. The trip was always going to happen on the back of a motorcycle. Though traveling in this manner is not always the most convenient or comfortable, it is ridiculously efficient and functional. So unless you have a magic carpet to get from place to place, I don't think there's really any more efficient way or cheaper way to travel to get from place to place. The small size of the bike also allows access to some areas that are maybe off limits for bigger vehicles, so if you're needing to find that little campground out of the way, a motorcycle is good for doing that as well. A motorcycle has been my primary means of transportation since I was 17 years old, so I have a good amount of experience on it too, which gives me a little bit of confidence. You know, there's no way you can control what other drivers around you are going to do, but I feel like my riding methods can at least optimize my safety, if nothing else. Well, perhaps some consideration should have been given to hitchhiking, given that in the song, that's actually how the traveler is traveling. He's hitching his way down the dusty Winnemucca Road. But I always find when I wake up missing a kidney, it just kind of ruins my day, so I dismissed this way of traveling pretty early on. There are still some of the hows of getting place to place that I'm trying to work out. Probably the most notable one is how I'm going to get around the Darien Gap, which is the mountainous jungle region between Panama and Colombia that you basically can't drive through, or if you do, you're taking your life into your own hands. So before I head that way, I'm hoping that there have been some ferry services going in the past. Hopefully some of those will be up and running again by the time I get there. But I got about 6 months before that becomes a real issue, so hopefully that one will be solved at some point. So probably the most common question on the how that I've gotten is how I can afford this. I'll say the short answer is that I'm really lucky, but I suppose I should expand on that a little bit for you. I don't think people really talk about money enough. Asking someone how much money they make is akin to asking a guy how big his garage is. You know, it's really rude. But I like to talk about money, if for no other reason than to encourage others to speak candidly about it as well. So by American standards at least, I've never made a lot of money. I've never had a year where I've grossed over $30,000, and indeed the last 2 years before this trip I've been under $20,000 each year. However, I possess quite a bit of discipline when it comes to money, and I've saved pretty faithfully ever since my first job. I'm thrifty enough that I've never really needed to make a budget, but I do have some rules I follow, and I'd like to talk about those just briefly. One is stay out of debt. So the only debt that I have is student interest. I don't think I'll ever make a car payment or anything like that. If I want something, I want to pay cash for it, bottom line. Two is don't eat out very much. I eat a lot of beans, rice, potatoes, oatmeal, stuff that is cheap and relatively nutritious. My roommates affectionately refer to my diet as the Dust Bowl diet, which I think is kind of a compliment, right? Number three, cohabitate. Having roommates ever since I have been in college has saved me thousands and thousands of dollars over the years. And I know what you're thinking, wait, there's people that can stand to live with this guy? And yes, surprisingly, I know some people that are both very patient and very considerate to put up with me. Four is spend money on experiences rather than things. This rule was learned by watching how my parents managed their money. Nice things are not only expensive at the outset, they often come with a recurring cost of ownership that can really add up over time. Experiences, on the other hand, while they can be very expensive, the memories are often priceless. 5, put your money to work. I try to get my hands on my money as soon as I can and get it invested as soon as possible. Compounding interest remains one of the most powerful forces in our galaxy. Sitting on cash is just a waste and should be avoided at pretty much all costs. So those are all good rules, right? But I must also acknowledge that I'm extremely blessed, lucky, fortunate, whatever word you'd prefer to use for that. There are many financial factors that are very much out of my control, but fortunately they've seemed to all work out pretty much in my favor. Staying with the earlier theme, let me list a few ways. First of all, I live in Nebraska. I don't think people from major metro areas can really comprehend just how cheap the cost of living is here. For example, I live in a 5-bedroom house in a really nice part of town, and we pay $1,200 a month for it. And there's some places where you can't even get a studio apartment for $1,200 a month, which just blows my mind. 2, I'm healthy. Medical expenses can strike at any time and strike hard. Thankfully, they have yet to strike me. I could easily have an illness or accident that depletes all my savings, and so I'm very thankful for my health, and that's one of the things that has allowed me to save my money. 3, wise counsel. My parents never gave me really long lectures about money, though we did talk about it, but their actions spoke very loudly. Just by observing them, I think I was able to form an accurate view of finances as a place in one's life. This firm foundation has allowed me to avoid any serious financial pitfalls, which is just another reason I'm very, very thankful for my wonderful parents. I've tried to estimate the cost for this trip, and it's really difficult. It's so hard to know exactly how much I'll spend. Things like gas and food you can calculate pretty well, but everything else there's a lot of variables there. Right now in my mind, I'm trying to keep it under $10,000. It really kind of depends on how many repairs, if I'll need a second motorcycle, all those things which are kind of still up in the air that I don't have any control over. I've never really spent any money on anything, I guess, except for my education that I've spent that much on. But this experience will belong to me forever, and I think it will be well worth the investment. There are many more how questions to answer, I guess, like how will I get clean, how will I prepare food, how will I pack my bike, but I think for now I'm going to wrap it up there. I hope this was fun to watch. I'll also type everything out so you can read it if you'd rather not watch me as I'm speaking. But I'll hopefully be posting more, and I guess we're T-minus 9 days till we take off on the trip. So thanks for following along. Have a wonderful day.